Hey everybody, welcome back to another Nature's Always Right video. Today I'm going to show you the seedlings that I got from plantables.com. I'm going to tell you more about the company and what they do and what they can offer us gardeners. And I'm going to show you guys how to plant each of the different crops that I have in here and just talk about some different planting strategies as well. So plantables.com is an organic seedling provider. And this is geared more towards home gardeners and people that don't have a lot of experience growing. So it's instead of going down to maybe, your local nursery, you could buy them online. They're just shipped directly to your house. And then the day that you get them, you want to plant them right away. Don't be like me and wait a couple days before you plant them because you want them to be at optimal health. If you're interested in checking out the website and ordering, I have a code and link down in the description that you can click on. My code is capital N, capital A, capital R, NAR for Nature's Always Right. If you use the code, it's just a way that you can help support my content when you're buying something from plantables.com. So thank you for using the link. So when you receive your kit, this is the box that it comes in. You can open it up. It comes in this plastic container to keep humidity in there. And in here they gave me mini cucumbers, seedless watermelons, red chili pepper. So they give you a little tag that you can poke in the ground so you can remember what you planted there. And they'll give you a little bit of information about the plant. And on the back, they give you the distance that you should plant everything, how much sun it needs, the amount of fertilizer, if you can grow in a container. It doesn't require a trellis or stakes. So all your basic info that you need for your plant. So that's really nifty. You'll notice that they're using just a common name. They're not telling you the distinct variety name of your plants. And maybe they just don't want to confuse people, so they're just giving you the simple name rather than the specific variety name. And it's pretty cool. It looks like they grafted the watermelons here. So grafting is when they've added on, so this bottom piece of the plant is a rootstock that's going to have very strong roots and will resist disease. And the top of the plant, the fruiting stalk, is grown for having really good fruit. Okay, so let's go out and plant these in containers and in soil. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna do with this seedling, and there's actually already a pepper on here, which is kind of cool. I'm gonna take off these yellow dying leaves. Just get those out of here. And then, I don't have my clippers with me, but I am gonna take this fruit off, especially because it's a little bit weaker now that I let it sit in that box for a couple days. I don't want it to spend any more energy looking after this fruit. I want it to put all production into its roots and growing more veg so that it can mature. There's a little mini fruit here. I'm just going to take that off as well. So now this thing is prepared and ready. Now if yours looks super healthy and it already has a pepper on there, just go ahead and plant it. I'm doing this because the plant is in a weakened state. But if you're getting yours and they're looking really healthy, you could just plant it. But it's up to you. If you want to try to get your plant bigger first, long term that may be a little bit better for the production. So when planting this, I'm going to want to bury this entire structure here. And I'm not going to want to go beyond this height. I don't want to bury these leaves. So you want to keep the soil level of the pot even with the soil of the seedling. So I'll dig out a little hole, cover it just enough, and then at the end I'm going to compress down because I want to make sure that there's no air pockets down in that hole, because when roots hit air, they can't survive. So we want to eliminate that. Now it's nice and snug in there. The final step is to water this in with a watering can, or you can use a drip system. I have a video on how I built this drip system. I'll link for you guys. But something like this, I would just hand water it and get it nice and soaked in. It'll help all the soil congeal around that root ball, and it'll be off to a great start. And then I want to be sure I put my little tag in here so I remember what I planted. Oh, and just in case you were wondering, this is a red chili pepper. But all peppers start out green, and then as they ripen, they change into the color of red, yellow, orange, whatever type of pepper that is. So I could eat this green, no problem, but as it ripens, you're getting more flavonoids, more nutrients, all the things that make it taste sweet, the spiciness and complexity of flavor change. So waiting to eat sweetened peppers is much better, and it's actually healthier for you as well. Of course, you can eat unripened peppers as well. So I'm planting in the late afternoon. It's after 6 p.m. here in San Diego on June 13th, I believe. So, you know, the temperature's down to like 70 or below, and the sun's intensity is way down now that it's in the lower part of the horizon. So you want to either plant in the morning or late afternoon. If you plant it at 12 o'clock midday when the sun's beating down, the plant is going to be under a lot of stress and your percentage of success is going to go way down, especially in the summertime when you have hotter temperatures. In the winter or spring or fall when it's cooler, you can get away with planting in the midday as long as temperatures are, 75 to 80 maximum. You could do it, but I recommend really planting in the late afternoon is my favorite time because it has a long period of time overnight and the next morning to kind of get adjusted to the new pot or ground that it's in before it's affected by the sunlight. Planting in the morning, it's getting affected much quicker. So that's just my favorite time to personally plant it, but a lot of times it doesn't work out that way. You have to plant in the morning and plants will do fine. Sometimes you'll notice that their leaves will droop a little bit after planting them in the morning, but most of the time they'll pop back to life. One last tip, if it does get really hot on you, you plant it in the morning and then, oh man, there's a huge temperature spike that you weren't expecting, you could put some type of little shade cover over that plant in order to reduce the stress and help it to get comfortable in that new spot and get the root structure out there so it can develop some strength and resilience to the weather. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to plant is watermelon, and I want to plant this on the outside of my grow bag section here because this plant is going to come out of this grow bag and then want to vine. It's going to go out 10 feet. I'm going to let it vine out up over in this area, and it's going to put its watermelons out somewhere around here. Now, I wouldn't want to put it in the middle of all these grow bags because then it's going to be climbing over everything. But if I put it on the outside, it's manageable and I can control where it's going to grow. So that's where I'll put my watermelons. And if you want, you can kind of massage the root ball. You don't really need to remove this, but you can. But the roots will grow right through this paper that they use. This is a biodegradable, natural, it's like a type of paper product. And that'll just dissolve in your soil. So I'm just loosening up the roots a little bit so they can go out into the ground more easily. When you're preparing your seedlings, if you do see anything that's really dead like this, just get it off of the plant. And it's even safer to just use some little snippers, micro pruners, or some like Felco pruners. I'll put a link in the description for some tools like that for you guys, but you just want to remove any of the dead and dying stuff. It's not going to help the plant out, and it can only hurt the plant by attracting disease. And the plant will waste a little bit of energy trying to repair it. So you just take that off and then get to the planting. And then the same process, I'm just going to dig a hole. I can take the grafting clip off because it's totally grafted now. I'm going to push the plant down, pile up some more soil around it, done. And that's all there is to it. It's very, very easy to plant seedlings. Just need to water it in as my last step. But let's go plant some cucumbers before I water everything. So next I'll be planting these cucumbers in my lower and lean trellis system. If you want to see and learn more about how I do my cucumbers and my tomatoes, check out the video in the link and I'll show you how I'm training all of these. I'm going to plant it all the way to the edge of my bed to give my other cucumbers room, and this one's way behind the rest of my plants. So when I dig my hole, I set the plant in there to test it and see, okay, did I dig it deep enough? If I don't, then I go a little deeper. And if you have any organic fertilizer or things like that, this would be the time to use it. So I would sprinkle out a little bit into the planting hole itself, and then I sprinkle a little bit more on top of the cucumber as well. But my soil is very, very fertile, and I just added a bunch of my compost, vermicompost, and organic fertilizer to this bed before I planted the cucumbers, so I'm not too worried about it. But if you want tips on planting cucumbers that are really in depth and what fertilizers and amendments that I use, I've got another video all about that. So for my next cucumber, I'll put it right here in between these two, where one of my other seedlings died and I didn't have any other backups to replace it. So now I do, and this one's a little bit further behind, so I'll have to let it wait, but we'll see how well it catches up. And you'll notice I planted these amongst my interplanted green onion. I've got another video all about that and how I interplant with all of my vining crops. When plants are in their transplanting stage, I find for most vegetables, it's better if the ground is really wet, especially when it's hot, so that every root that the plant has available has water right next to it and can get it if it needs it. Once the plant becomes more established and you can see it's grown, like maybe it has doubled in size, then you can start monitoring the water more. Unless it's really hot, unless it's in the 90s all the time, then you could water the plant every single day and it's not going to hurt the plant. But keep an eye on the moisture level in the soil. You can check with your finger and see what's going on. You see how it's dry right there? But closer to here, I bet it's pretty wet all through there, and that's where the root zone is right now. When the plant grows, the root zone will grow across this entire grow bag here. In container gardening, I find you need to water a little bit more often than in soil beds. And once we see a doubling in size or a tripling in size, we know that this plant is now established and it should be very green and vibrant. All right, you guys, I'm gonna finish up planting the last couple of the watermelons I have here. I really hope this helped you if you're new to gardening and are trying it out for the first time. That's so great that you're trying to grow your own food for your family or yourself. So props to you for going for it, and I promise you that gardening is just an endlessly joyful pursuit that you'll love for the rest of your life, and you're really going to love the food that you grow for yourself because it's just absolutely delicious. Huge thank you to